We have a lot to get into that happened this week, including an update regarding any DLC for Spider-Man 2, PlayStation's stance on the Killzone series, that part plays deleting a whole article, and a lot more to get into. Starting with Insomniac saying that they have no additional story content planned for Spider-Man 2. Now, see, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like that this was the most shocking news that they could have delivered, because there was a lot of story threads that left people with blue balls like a motherfucker. Unless they're gonna jam pack all those story tidbits into Spider-Man 3, which in that case is going to be crazy, unless the whole Carnage storyline is going to be played out to some degree in the Venom spinoff game, if they are still working on that. But Carnage was just one of them. It's a bunch more that they really have not concluded yet, and it still remains one big old mystery. And if indeed they're going to put some of these storylines on hold for Spider-Man 3, then I can see Spider-Man 3 being a crazy game if they're going to end up wrapping up every storyline that started with Spider-Man 2 but will end with Spider-Man 3. And I would also suspect that they do end up putting out a Venom spinoff game as well as a sequel to Miles Morales, that they definitely are going to have like some type of end credit scene to kind of give us a tease as to what's next, or small teases and tidbits that we may see as a build up and for anticipation for Spider-Man 3, if I had to speculate. But nevertheless, this is something that I feel like Sony and Insomniac completely dropped the ball on, considering how much DLC and story content we had for the first game. Up next, we have Sony's Guerrilla Games. Basically sounds like that they're completely done with the Killzone franchise. The quote reads, "We were done with it, Killzone, as a team, as a studio. We needed to refresh the palette. It was by choice, the opposite of Killzone. I think the themes that this story and the other characters represent are relatable for all ages and people, like having a found family of friends and finding your place in the world." Now, my thing about this is, I would have loved a brand new Killzone game to come out for the PS6, or even sometime before then, like something. Because if there's one thing that has kind of been lacking with PlayStation, has been on the multiplayer front. And considering how beloved that first-person shooter franchise has historically been for Sony, it is kind of interesting that they don't want to go back to it at all, it seems. Now, see, back on October 18th, that part place, they shared a link to this article that says Ubisoft allegedly dreading the release of its upcoming Assassin's Creed Hex after it was rumored to be the gayest Assassin's Creed yet. But what's interesting about this is when you go to click on the link to the article, it's nowhere to be found. They deleted their article because they knew that they were wrong to have Endymion as a source. The man's been going 0 for 2 the last couple times, so I don't know why anybody at this point is still taking him seriously. And yes, that is the whole premise of that article. He was reporting on Endymion, who apparently one of his sources was saying that this upcoming Assassin's Creed Hex is going to be so gay, it's going to focus on lesbian relationships. I mean, you're playing as a witch. Like, I don't think that there were any male warlocks during the witch trials over there, that part of the world. Now, granted, even though Ubisoft is at a curious place right now with gamers and me, myself, Assassin's Creed has been their breadwinner, and a lot is riding on the success of Assassin's Creed Shadows to be a hit. Not only to be a hit financially, but to be a great game. Now, as far as Codename Hex goes, I've always kind of liked the idea of playing as an Isu witch during the witch trials. It kind of, you know, something that kind of taps into the lore of Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed Odyssey did the same thing, and a lot of people end up loving that game, even though there are some valid critiques for that game to have. I really do like it when Assassin's Creed taps into the lore, where you get to play as somebody who isn't necessarily an assassin or Templar, but somebody who is a part of the Isu lore. And honestly, for me at least, I've been wanting for years for Ubisoft to greenlight a Assassin's Creed game that basically has you playing as an Isu, like pretty much a prequel of the entire series. There's been a new report that states that Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown team reportedly got disbanded by Ubisoft as The Lost Crown did not reach sales expectations. A sequel was proposed but did not get greenlit. And I think that this has a lot to do with not only Ubisoft but other publishers having these overinflated budgets and being surprised why they didn't get a return on investment if they had just had a smaller budget. That way they have a higher ROI and they don't end up saying, oh, well, because this game didn't sell as much as we thought it was going to sell or should sell, that we gotta, you know, disband the studio entirely and cancel a sequel. And by a lot of accounts, people did thoroughly enjoy The Lost Crown. But we all know Ubisoft, they're more focused on their live service titles and their open world titles like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry mainly, instead of everything else, which it is a shame. It is disappointing to see or hear news like this, especially coming from a game that people did enjoy. But I hope that to the very least Ubisoft does not just let these developers just meander by the wayside and instead just put them on other titles that, you know, probably could benefit those franchises. It's been 84 years and Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still not came out yet, with an update saying that it's still alive and slowly moving forward with new leadership. Michel Ancel had left Ubisoft back in 2020 amid reports of toxic leadership and chaotic direction. Although he's now back consulting on a new Rayman project, Bruner was removed from Beyond Good and Evil 2 earlier this year, sources told Kotaku at the time, following years of gridlock and indecision about scope, features, and design trade-offs. Taking his place was Francis Odebuff, a nearly 30-year veteran of Ubisoft who had already been working on the game as a producer. Guillaume Bruner will transition to another project within Ubisoft, spokesperson for Ubisoft told Kotaku back in July. We'd like to thank Guillaume for his leadership in developing the game over the years. His contributions and dedication have been truly admirable. Beyond Good and Evil 2 development will continue under the leadership of Francis Codebuff, a seasoned producer who is already part of the core team. We will have more to share when the time is right. I don't know about y'all, but this is giving very, very Cyberpunk 2077 vibes, with the tagline, oh, it's coming when it's ready. We'll give more updates at the right time. This game has been in development hell for a long time. People have probably graduated high school and college by now since the game has been announced. Like, there's people who's had whole kids during this whole span of development. I will say, like, year over year, the hype has gone down expeditiously, and it clearly was not ready for years. And I think that they probably bit off a little bit more than they could chew, but if anything, they probably announced it at the time just to give investors some hope of, you know, what they're cooking up. But I don't know, like, this game has gone through a lot of changes, a lot of development hell courses, but hopefully it is one of those development hell successes that we have seen. But with that being said, y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Till next time, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.